Hello, welcome to this quick video on getting started with the opsdroid project. So if you've not used opsdroid before, opsdroid is a Python 3 ChatOps bot framework. So it's a Python application which allows you to connect to different chat applications like Slack or Facebook or Twitter and write simple Python rules to have a conversation with the user. I'll do some examples in a minute, but let's get started by installing opsdroid on Ubuntu 16.4. So from the homepage, opsdroid.github.io, you should better click the Getting Started link, which will take you through to the first page of the documentation. And if you scroll down, you'll find some Ubuntu 16.4 installation instructions. So the first part of the installation is to just do a simple apt-get update. You can see I've run this already, just to get ahead. This is just going to go through and update the latest packages available in the Ubuntu repository. Next, we're going to install a couple of different packages. Now, opsdroid is a Python 3 application. Most kind of up-to-date Linux distributions will come with Python 3, and preferably they need to come with Python 3.5 or above, because Ubuntu takes advantage of some of the features in that. So Ubuntu 16.4 definitely comes with Python 3.5, but what it doesn't come with is the Python 3 package manager, which is what we need to install opsdroid. Also, out of the box, Ubuntu 16.4 has some kind of language issues. It's not a problem, but it just gives you a load of error messages in your installation. So let's make sure we get the language pack installed. And opsdroid also needs Git because it uses to help manage its own modules and its own dependencies. So we're going to say yes to this installation. We're going to pull down pip for Python 3, and we're going to pull down Git and also these language packs. Now that we have these packages installed, we can go back to the documentation and have a look at the next instruction. So the version of pip that comes from the Ubuntu repositories isn't necessarily going to be the latest version of pip. So we're just going to get pip to upgrade itself. So we'll just do pip3 install -- upgrade pip. So that will just make sure we're running the very latest version of pip. Otherwise, we get these yellow warnings every time we run anything. And finally, we just need to pip3 install opsdroid. We need to run this with sudo so that it can install it into the system location. It won't ask me for my password again this time because I've already provided it. So what this will do is it will pull down pip from PyPy, the Python repository. It'll also pull down any dependencies that it needs. It'll get them installed within the Python 3 site packages area, and it will create a command line command, which allows you to run opsdroid, and it will run it within the Python 3 context. So opsdroid is just a Python module. It can be imported into other projects, but in this context, we're going to just be using it as a command line option. So I now, from the terminal, should just be able to run opsdroid, and this will run the application. When it first starts up, when you've never run it before, it'll generate some config, and it will install all the modules that it needs. That's what it uses Git for. These modules will go into more details on what they are later. There's a few different types of modules, things that opsdroid uses to communicate with different chat applications or to interact with users, that kind of thing. So it puts all of these different bits and pieces into your home directory in a directory called .opsdroid, so it's a hidden directory. But it will put everything in there, and that's where you can find it when we want to come and edit the configuration later. So you can now see in the command prompt, it's done a little bit of logging. By default, it will log out to the terminal. It'll also write those logs into a log file, which is in that .opsdroid directory in your home directory. And also by default, it will start one of its connectors. So connectors are the modules that opsdroid uses to communicate with different chat applications. And one of the default connectors is just a shell connector. So you can see down here, it's a bit messy because we've got some log messages, but you can see there's an opsdroid with a greater than symbol. So that is the shell prompt for opsdroid. If I press return, it will just drop down to another shell line, and you can see we've got the opsdroid shell. So I can say hi, and straight away opsdroid will respond, hello Jacob. It knows my name because it's pulled my username from the shell, so it knows what that is. You can also see, because we've got this logging turned on in the prompt, it is logging a few warnings about databases. That's another type of module, so opsdroid can store different bits of information in databases. We'll come on to that later. It's a bit frustrating using the opsdroid shell like this, so we can go into the config and turn off the logging into the console, so we don't see any of that. But there is another way of debugging and trying out opsdroid, and that is using opsdroid-desktop. So opsdroid-desktop is a desktop application, which is a very, very simple chat client that will connect to opsdroid using one of its other default connectors, which uses WebSockets, to just have a very simple interface for you to try things out. So we're going to get this installed as well. So we'll go back to the main opsdroid website, opsdroid.github.io, and we will click desktop. This will take us through to the project page on GitHub for opsdroid desktop. And if I scroll down, there's a whole set of instructions for installing on different platforms. And we are installing on Linux, so we want to go onto the latest releases and find our latest release for Linux. So it'll be whatever the latest version is and whichever architecture. So this is Ubuntu 16.4 64-bit, so we want to find this latest release, which is at this time 0.2.7, and we want the Linux x64 tarball. So we're going to copy this link location, we're going to go back to the terminal, we're just going to open a new terminal, I'm just going to install this in another window, so we're going to leave opsdroid running in the other session, and I'm just going to wget this tarball. So this is just a compressed archive of opsdroid desktop. I'm just going to grab this, I'm just going to drop it in my home directory for now. So what we're going to do is we're going to install this as a system application on this machine. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to create a directory in /etc for it to live in. Because it's in /etc, we need to do this with sudo. You need root permissions to write to that directory. Let's copy that. Paste it here. My download's finished. Excellent. So we'll make that directory. Put my password in again. Great. So we've created that directory. Now what we're going to do is we're going to extract the contents of that tarball that we downloaded into that directory. So I will paste this into the terminal. So I'll go back here and just fill in the actual version that we downloaded. So just delete that file and press tab to autocomplete. So you can see this is just using tar to extract the archive into this directory we just created. So I'll run that. It's just going to extract opsdroid desktop. Once it's done that, we can just run the application if we want to. It's just etc/opsdroid-desktop/opsdroid-desktop. But as we're on Ubuntu 16.4, we can actually use an application launcher so that it pops up in the launch bar. And opsdroid comes with that pre-installed, so I'm just going to copy that command to just copy the launcher into the right location. I'm going to paste that. So now that's copied this opsdroid-desktop.desktop launcher application, which will just mean that it pops up in the search in here. So if I click on the launcher up in the top corner, and I just search for opsdroid, once it's had a look through and found the new application, you should see it here, opsdroid desktop. So when I run this, it should connect to the version of opsdroid that we've already got running and just present you with a really, really simple chat client. Here we go. So once it's loaded up, you just see it's got a simple prompt at the bottom with the send button. This is just showing that it's disconnected at the moment, so we just want to connect to opsdroid. It shows it's connected, and we can say hi, just like we did before. It's saying hi none here because it can't figure out what my name is from the shell, so it just says none. But if using Slack or Facebook, whatever, it can grab the username from that location.